All right. Okay, cool. It is live as soon as I get these questions in front of me. All right. All right, I'm Bradley Thomas with the Art of Changing Your Life Coaching, and this is the Take Your Road to Freedom Summit. And we're here to learn more today about how to find your purpose. And today my guest is Cyndi Olin, and she's a dating and relationship coach. Welcome, Cyndi.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks so much for participating in this. And my goal with this whole summit is to help and empower people to find their purpose, because once you know your purpose, you create more confidence in your life. You can go further faster, make decisions faster, build a bigger business. Really, whatever it is, it's the fuel underneath that that drives you to make the difference that you want to make in the world. So if we can jump right into it, why don't we go into your story? And why don't you tell the people listening your story and how you found your purpose?
Absolutely. Well, I just wanted to say first, thank you so much for having me here and on your summit. I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
And I really love the fact I love the subject matter of your summit. So
Yeah.
I can't I know that you'll really help a lot of people on this. So thanks again
Yeah, I
for
appreciate that.
the problem. And just to tell you a little bit about me, how I found my purpose. Well, it's an interesting question because, I've had a couple of, I've really been passionate about a few different things my
Mhm.
entire life. One being clothing and fashion, and
Yeah.
I used to want to be an actress when I was little. I was literally, I tried to get my parents to move to Hollywood when I was 3 years old so I could be on the Mickey Mouse show.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So I was always trying to do something. And, one of the things that always fascinated me as I was growing up was relationships.
Hmm.
And, I think I was boy crazy from the time I was, 6 years old and, self-proclaimed. But, one thing that I never knew how to communicate or connect that well with men. I used to say that I wore man repellent. Um, I'm not kidding you. But that's a different story. Anyways, just to fast forward, I always really studied a lot about relationships and sociology and the psychology between people and their connections. And I did this from a really young age. And in college I studied marketing and psychology, and so there was all that, and went on to work with a relationship development center out of college, and taught some of John Gray's philosophies, the Mars and Venus work, and I did some other things where I worked as a high-end matchmaker for a long time. Anyways, and I worked, got out of that, worked in the fashion field, and I was always doing something, but always had an interest, and I'm sure you can identify with this, of being an entrepreneur.
Hmm.
And I worked in where I was independent contractor with a mortgage business from home for a long time. I did many things. I was a partner in a retail store. So I always had that entrepreneurial thing, and um, I gotten to another point once the economy had shifted a bit, and I would literally think of new ideas every week. Like, I'm gonna design jewelry or do who knows.
I think that's
But
common.
yeah, it's very, very common. And people that have the propensity to be entrepreneurs, and part of that drive for me was really to have that time and financial freedom and really be my own boss.
Hmm.
And you know and the other side of that too was also to make a difference. I always really liked working with people and helping people in different areas. So you know of course, my friends would always come to me and ask me about their relationships and things like that. And I had decided to get some guidance and help. Um, So I hired a coach that you know very well.
Yes.
And and I and my coach, Shanda, and your coach too, Brad, what was interesting is we were actually very good friends, and so I would go to her all the time like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I definitely am going to hire you. And um, it was just it was right in front of me the whole time. I could have gone many different directions, but really the direction that I went into is where my talents lied, because I've never researched and really been so interested in anything else besides relationships and relating and really helping people get past their blocks in this area. So I don't know if that answers your question, but um, I just had to dive in and not think too deeply
Mhm.
and about what it was that I was doing. I just knew that I had to do it. And, all of a sudden, as I've delved into my company and my business, all these different ideas come up and great opportunities to grow and, really expand upon that and help people.
Yeah, I think it's common, especially, I think it's really common for entrepreneurs to have that, well, people who don't even know they're entrepreneurs, they have that thing you described of like you have a new idea every day, you're creative, and you want to start something, you don't want to be stuck in that same job. But what I kind of heard there was that you kept hearing that same thread of like, I really like working with people, and I really like working with people in the manner of helping them in their personal relationships and love relationships, and that just kept coming up for you. But before you did that, you didn't think of it as a business, or maybe you had, but now you're on that path, and you're doing it, and you've been successful at it and helping people do that. Was there any kind of moment that it really kind of clicked for you, and you're like, okay, this is actually absolutely it. I need to do this. Was there a defining moment?
There have been several.
Mm-hmm.
Because what happened was I was working for a high-end matchmaking company, and I was developing a higher-end product with them.
Mm-hmm.
And what I noticed a lot was that I was coaching a lot of my clients, and I was really helping give them direction. And one of the biggest things that I found is that if they if people don't really have effective coaching and know what to do, it doesn't matter if you hire a high-end matchmaker and you meet the perfect girl or the perfect guy, because you're probably going to sabotage it anyways. And I kept seeing that trend over and over again. And when I would help them, they would, many people would, um, would meet that right person and, get out of that monkey mind that oftentimes we get into when it comes to dating and relationships. Also with business too, it can become very emotional. But I had several defining moments that really just led me to that place of I really need to get out there and help people that are especially in the process of dating and wanting to meet that special someone,
Mm-hmm.
to really help them through that process.
Yeah, it sounds, if I could rephrase that you felt really fulfilled, after doing it. And the trick of it is how do you take something that really fulfills you, that you do naturally, and how do you turn that into a business, And yours seems to be, you were helping make the matches, which seemed great on the surface, but then people mucked it up. They messed it up, and that those two people could have been great together, but one messed it up because the other one thought this and that and whatnot. And the visual I'm getting in my head is you're kind of like the woman's version of like Hitch. The movie Hitch where,
Wow.
yeah.
Yes. Definitely would help people do that. And how did I, make that into a business? Part of there was definitely some fear involved because
Mhm.
I didn't know what to do, and I I really just I hired a coach and I took that guidance. And one of the things that was always a dream of mine is I really wanted to work anytime from anywhere. So I wanted to, if I wanted to spend a month in Bali, I wanted to be able to connect with my clients under the palm trees with the monkeys and all of that. And I really have desired that freedom in my life,
Mhm.
and that was a big driving force for me. And I know with the technology that we have these days, it's possible.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I spent about 3 years before I hired a coach to teach me how to do the skills that I'm much better at today,
Yeah.
uh, which were I studied online marketing. I found it fascinating, and I found, the things that I would learn and different experts really fascinating. And I also figured out that I have a lot to offer in that arena. So, how did I develop it into a business? I hired a coach. I did a list build. I did what my coach said,
Mhm.
and
That's
it's
key.
it's been really effective. I mean, there's been times where I haven't, and I see the results have been, not as good in those times. But, one of the things about, entrepreneurs is, the commitment starts when the fun stops, right? I
Mhm.
know you've heard that.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes it's just not fun. It's not fun to have to do certain things, but you once you do that over and over again in business, it's like that in anywhere. Think about it in a job. You've got to learn these things to be able to grow
Yeah.
and do more and build your team around you.
Yeah, I think you said that a couple of times, and I want to make sure people hear that. Is that if you have something you're really passionate about and you don't know how to turn it into a business, you know how to do exactly what you do, and the people who are listening and watching know how to do exactly what they love to do. But the business side is a whole other aspect, and if you can get yourself a business coach that you will listen to and just do what they say, if they've been successful on the other side, then you're going to go so much further faster. It's I don't know. I've tried the same way, that I think everybody else has tried. You try it on your own, like you said. You try to do research because you think you're smart enough and you can figure it out on your own, and it's not going to cost you as much money, and you're going to get there just like everybody else. But then it ends up you're spinning your wheels and you're like, why aren't things working? And you just get caught up. And then as soon as someone is able to come in and help you, it makes a huge difference because they can see all the mistakes you haven't been able to see along the way. Does that make sense?
It does, and a lot of times, and this happened with me, is I would get again a wild idea or something, and I'd want to start a business, but I would give up because I would run into a roadblock, and I really didn't know what to do, and I
Mm-hmm.
really needed some help and tweaking in the business side, and frankly, I have had some really great mentors in my life in business, but my specialty is elsewhere. I'm very creative.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a great people person. Granted, I do what I do. I'm great with the relationship building, but you know, I always needed help with business strategy and how I was going to build and grow. And, you know, having that support, you know, you don't have to do it on your own.
No.
And once you really realize that, and you realize that it's much easier to get to where you want to be instead of spinning your wheels, as you said, and you know, I call it the slow boat to China. You know, like, you're just not going to get there at the rate you can, or you might be able to build your business to a certain point,
Yeah.
and then you just get stuck. And that's what I see with, you know, many entrepreneurs. And you know, the other thing too is you don't have to be the best person or the most skilled person at whatever it is you're doing, but it's the people that really don't give up and are connected to their dream and connected to, you know, in your case, in my case, you know, making a difference and helping people. And you know, those success stories, like, you know, I just had one the other day that makes my heart sing.
I know.
And you know, making that difference is, you know, beyond satisfaction.
Yeah, but it's I have some clients that I've been working with, and just to get the little emails that are like really big aha moments for them, it just makes me smile that I'm glad I'm doing what I'm doing. And I got one yesterday, and she's like, "I'm glad you quit your day job, Brad." I'm like, "Sweet." Just made me like, you know, like feel really good that I was able to empower her and help her move along the way. And I wanted to bring back something you said about growing and sticking with an idea. And I really like this analogy, and I got it from an interview I did last week with the founder of UGG Boots. And he likes to think, and I do too now, I like to think of, you know, whenever you're starting with your new business, if you think of it as, you know, a new little baby, and the first couple months, first couple of years, it's not going to know what's going on. You're going to have to take care of it, and you're going to have to nurture it. But it's going to take 3 to 5 years before it's going to start taking care. It can start to take care of itself a little bit, and then it's going to grow from there. But the other thing that I realized too is that something about commitment. You wouldn't give up on a little kid if you had one, you know. You would take care of it and raise it. And it's like that with your business. Like, if you're really passionate about it, don't give up on it. Keep going after it, but keep that in frame like, hey, it's just a little baby right now, and I got to take care of it. And then I have to go to this step and this step and the next step. And that kind of clicked for me a little more. And it's like, okay, now I have a better frame of where me and my purpose, or my purpose and I, whatever. And I know where I'm at, and I think that really helps whenever you're starting out new, because you can always reference that, and you can say, okay, well, I'm just a little toddler right now, and my business is still a toddler, so it's obviously not going to act like a grown adult and make lots of money. You know, it's going to take a little more time, but there's other people that have done it and been successful, so I can too. I just need to, you know, kind of fix things along as they go. Does that make sense and resonate?
Absolutely. I think that, you know, one of the biggest things that, you know, entrepreneurs and business owners do is they also take on too much all at once, and they are trying to figure out, you know, step 10, and instead of just focusing on the one thing in front of them. And you know, one of the things that I do is I really look to master 1 to 2 skill sets a year. And you know, sometimes those skill sets take a couple of years to really master, and you know, really just focusing on that and not moving past anything until you've actually reached that goal. So whatever goal, whatever thing you're working on, for example, if you're working on a video summit and you and then all of a sudden, you know, you get there's something else that's really interesting that pops up, or an interesting proposition. What happens is a lot of times people lose their focus, and then they'll leave, the summit to the wayside, or, not follow through on that. And it's just really important, speaking to everyone out there, is to do one thing at a time, do it well, do it right, and master it, make it better and better each time, because, whatever project, whatever it is you're working on, is to build your business. But if you leave it, without completely finishing your goal, which a lot of us do, we will give ourselves that get out of jail free card. Oh, I wasn't feeling well that week, or I didn't do this, or those excuses pop up. Just make sure, no matter what, you're following through, and don't take too much on at once.
It is a big thing, and taking too much on at once, it can make you want to quit, because it doesn't fit. Things don't happen as fast, and there's 10,000 wheels going on in your head about what's to happen next. And if you can just focus on one thing, and that takes time and effort too. Because especially if you're an entrepreneur, you have 1,000 other ideas that are telling you this idea is better, and you're going to get there faster, and you're going to go over here faster, and you're going to make more money faster. And then if you can quiet that little piece of your mind, that's a huge thing. And in that moment, Facebook just barked at me, so I'm turning it off. It made a noise. So, and that's a huge thing. Stop looking at Facebook all the time.
Are really, I see it all the time. It's like, oh, well, I have an online company, so I need to work on my social media and do these different things. Again, working on that one goal at a time, that one thing that you're mastering, really focus on that. And then, as you start building your company and you're making a difference, you're making more money, you can do extra trainings and, master different things. Go to, more intensives about what it is that you're teaching, or, whatever your company is, whether it be you've got a skincare line or you're a consultant. It doesn't matter. It's really, truly, all of these things ring true for everyone.
Yeah. Well, I know we're kind of winding down here, and I wanted to get a little one last, I guess, piece of advice. I'll let you choose if you want to give relationship advice, business advice, your choice, whatever you think is best.
Well, I think that relationships are the cornerstone to our success in life. So, really making relationships a priority, and communication is so key. And that's, my clients that come to me, those are some of the things that we really work on, and, removing those blocks and helping those things that, we get built up through childhood and, different relationships that we've had that have blocked us from really experiencing the kind of relationships that that you really want. So in closing about that, I will just say that, it's really key to, your connections. We talk about this often. Your connections are your currency. And, when I work with my clients, they always tell me, gosh, I've seen a huge shift in my relationship with my father or my friends, and just the way that I'm communicating and the way that I'm showing up. So, really just knowing that coaching does make a difference, and getting help, there's nothing wrong with it. Because it gets you to where you want to be much quicker. and you have more accountability, and you don't have to do that journey alone. You know, it's
Yeah.
instead of, you know, reading, yes, I could read all the books on how to build my business online and get the ebooks and do all that, sure, but I can do that, but then there's strategies that I really need to implement from from somebody that has done this before me and has made a difference. So I don't know if that makes sense,
Oh
but
yeah, yeah, it totally does. I mean, I've read my whole life, you know, different styles of books, self-help, psychology, and they're all really helpful. But it wasn't until I got myself a coach that things started to shape, and I'm using all of that information now to go as fast as I can. But having someone on the other side telling you it's like having a mirror, you know. You need to be able to see what you look like, and that coach is able to do that for you. Except they're seeing all your actions or inactions, and or strategies in business, and saying this isn't working, or you're on the right pace. It just takes a little while longer. Just keep doing what you're doing. Those types of things. So yeah, I can't stress enough. It's kind of biased, I guess, a coach saying they should get a coach, but it does work, you know.
yeah, it's getting support and mentorship throughout any process in your life. I mean, Bill Gates has 5 coaches.
Yeah.
You know, there are, you know, and and it's not that his coaches are smarter than him. It's just that they can see things that he doesn't necessarily see, and
Hmm.
they're not as emotionally
Attached.
invested in what you're doing
Hmm.
uh, as you are.
Yeah.
Yes, they want to
That's
see you make a difference and build and grow, but um, you know, we, as you know, it's much more helpful to have someone that is consulting you and getting you to the other side of that.
yeah. So you know, as we're wrapping up, if you could let the audience know someone you love to work with and loves to work with you, your ideal client. You know, if you describe them and tell them, you know, exactly where they can find you.
Absolutely. My ideal client is, you know, I work with people that are single and looking for love.
Hmm.
I don't know what that noise was. And also people that are in relationships and they need to shift that relationship, or they need some problem solving done. I do both. So, you know, I work with women primarily and also some men. And, you know, my ideal client is somebody that is really open to changing what their beliefs and thought processes are around relationships, and be really open to learning and growing and having really awesome and successful, sexy relationships.
Cool. And
So
where should they go?
they should go to um, createyourownluckandlove.com.
All right.
Connect with me.
Cool.
So thank you very much again, Bradley.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. I think it's always inspirational to hear someone who is doing their own purpose, living their own purpose, and I want to see some pictures of you giving advice on the beaches of Bali very soon.
Absolutely. Not so
All
much.
right. Well, I
Okay.
will talk to you soon, and thanks again, Cyndi. I appreciate it.
All right. Take care. Bye.